Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. Today I am with Russ Alman. Russ is a partner in the business Digital Media Northwest. Been helping us over the years primarily with our social media, Facebook and things of that nature. Been a big help to us promoting the senior center along with our thrift store, and we really have benefited from all that help. We want to talk a little bit about how we have progressed through the first season of Vibrant Motion and Vibrant Living. We got started last summer. I know it was hot, probably in July. We were doing some of the aerobics and the Tai Chi outdoors here at the Senior Center, and that's kind of how we began the process. And of course, we've been through all of the restrictions coming and going and what we can and can't do, and we have not used the Senior Center facility at all during this whole time. And so we've had some challenges and we've learned a lot. And I just wanted to once again thank Russ. Also, Daryl Dickinson, one of our board members, who really got this thing going several years ago, actually. We started talking about all this. And then when the pandemic hit, and I was talking to Russ one day, we decided that if we were ever going to do some video for the local TV station, time would be now. And so I'm very happy and very pleased that we've made a lot of progress and we've got our first season under our belt. And so I thought I'd just ask Russ to make a few comments from his perspective and some of the challenges that we've had.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's weird to be on the other side of the camera because I'm usually the one behind the camera, and so today I had to set this up a little differently. The idea behind this show was a long time coming. I think we probably talked about this 3 or 4 years back. I know you'd been talking with NCWLIFE Channel about this, and with Daryl Dickinson for 4 or 5 years, and for various reasons, it just never really kind of got off the ground until the pandemic hit. And I guess if there's a silver lining to this, to this shutdown, this extended shutdown, is it finally got this show going. Dave called me in early last summer, I believe. And we talked about it, and he said, I got to do something here because the seniors can't come in, and I'm having a hard time reaching them, and we really need to get this show going. And I said, I agreed with him, and we kind of put our heads together over a few weeks and figured out a game plan. Originally, the idea was to have one 1-hour show that was a combination of senior center activities and exercise. And what we found out pretty quickly after talking to exercise instructors was we really needed to have a separate hour just for exercise. And so that kind of gave birth to Vibrant Motion. And so we just wrapped up editing for the first season here. This is late January right now. We've finished editing for season 1. We're already working on putting together season 2. Haven't started shooting yet for it, but we've got all the gears in motion for that. But we decided to make that a separate 1-hour show and make Vibrant Living a standalone half-hour variety show. We decided on the variety show format because we wanted to have some flexibility in terms of shooting, and also be able to kind of mix and match topics as we went through. The only kind of general requirements that I wanted to have was to make sure that we had a segment on each show featuring a senior in the community. We call that Senior Spotlight. And you'll see that on most of our episodes have a senior spotlight. Then feature one activity that's related to the senior center itself. So for example, we covered the ping pong group at one point. We've have travel segments, things like that. And then have a segment on a service in the community that's available for seniors. And so we've been interviewing different organizations like Aging and Adult Care and Volunteer Attorney Services and a number of others to bring them on the show and let them reach out to the seniors as well. We really had two primary reasons for developing the show. One was, as I mentioned before, reaching out to the seniors during this time when they can't come in, and also reach out to other seniors in the community that may not be familiar with the senior center. But the other reason was to reach out to the community in general so that they had a better understanding of what the Senior Activity Center had to offer.
Yeah.
And I know, Dave, why don't you kind of talk about that a little bit, because you've shared that with me a number of times, how people view the center.
Well, I've been here almost 8 years as the executive director, and I can't tell you how many times I've been asked the question, how many beds do you manage at the senior center? And I have to inform those folks that no, we are not an assisted living, we're not a nursing home, we are an activity center. And so one of our goals with this programming has been to make sure people understand what it is we do, what we've done in our past, what we're going to be doing in our future, and helping other nonprofits in our community during a difficult time. And so I think we're achieving our goals. Obviously, we don't have the ability to find out how many people are tuning in and that kind of thing, because it's a local TV station. But I do get a lot of good feedback, and the feedback we're getting is very positive about what we're doing here, and I think it makes us feel like we're really doing something more worthwhile for our community. Obviously, this is not always very timely information that we're able to put on the TV show. There is a delay, typically. We tried to reprogram a few things and put some programs ahead of others because of the timeliness, but for instance, just today, or actually it was yesterday, we're talking mid-January, there's some late breaking news on the immunizations in our community, and the fact that Town Toyota Center is going to be utilized as a facility to get people a shot in the arm. So, it's things like that we wish that we could be more timely in some of the information, but there again, our goal is to stay in touch with our seniors and display to the community what we're all about.
Yeah, that's part of the reason behind the variety show format too, was to have some flexibility in terms of what we put on each episode, because it does take time for us to edit. But at the same time, if we have something that's timely, we can kind of bump it up the list, put it on the show sooner. I know last month we had an episode, Dr. Steve Castor, who is one of the he was involved in the research on the Pfizer vaccine, where they actually did trials here in Wenatchee, and he was part of overseeing that trial. And we really wanted to get that information on the show as quickly as possible after the Pfizer vaccine was approved, so that people knew about that connection. And so we bumped that up we actually bumped Santa off his Christmas show to make that fit, and Santa had to visit after Christmas, unfortunately, because of that. But having that flexibility is important to us. It's been an interesting experience shooting this because of COVID and the changing restrictions that we've had through the process, both for Vibrant Living and Vibrant Motion. Originally, we were, like with Vibrant Motion, we were shooting episodes outside, first at the senior center and then over at the Eastmont Park facilities, depending on conditions. We had some time last summer when it got smoky and we couldn't exercise outside, so then we ended up going into the community center at Eastmont. Then when it cleared up, we were able to go outside. Now we're getting ready to start shooting for season 2, and it's January, it's cold, and so, I think, but restrictions have changed a bit, and I think we're going to be able to find some options. I guess you'll probably find out about the time that soon after this episode airs, when we start season 2, you'll find out how we're shooting Vibrant Motion, because we're still not totally sure yet either. But we've had to definitely had to do a lot of adapting and adjusting to make things fit under the COVID restrictions. In fact, part of the reason we're shooting this interview outside, and we've been doing a lot of outside shooting the last 2 to 3 months, even for just interviews, so that we could be open air and not have to wear masks, so that we're still adhering to the guidelines, because we want to practice good safety.
So yeah, we're trying to do all the right things, stay within the guidelines. Obviously, Senior Center is closed, and so we have to work around all that. I don't know if you're hearing all the cars drive by as we're talking here, but obviously the thrift store is open and we have a lot of traffic moving through the parking lot, and that makes me feel really good, because we do have our thrift store open and doing very well, by the way. But I really want to thank Russ for his flexibility in this effort. It's taken up a lot of his time. It's actually gone smoother than I would have thought, looking back on what we've been through. But it takes a lot of coordination, cooperation, and flexibility, and I just really want to thank him for all that to make this work, and the feedback continues to pour in a positive way, so we're feeling really good right now.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the reason that I wanted to do this show, and I'm producing it. I'm doing all the audio and cameras. I do have an editor on staff, Oliver. Thank you for all the editing you've been doing. I know it's a lot of work. I've wanted to do this show because it is important to the community. So there's that part of it too. But I have some personal reasons behind wanting to do this show as well. My parents are in their late 70s now, and thinking back to my grandparents too, when my grandparents were that age, there are conversations that I had with them, and I wish I was able to. My grandparents lived in the Boston area, and I grew up in Michigan, and then moved to the West Coast 25 years ago. So I wasn't really around my grandparents that much growing up. And as I got older, I learned to appreciate more and more all the experiences that they had. And I wish I would have had the opportunity to learn more, not just learn more, but be able to document more about the things that they went through. I mean, I'm Jewish, and both sides of my family. My mother's mother was a first-generation immigrant from Lithuania. My mother's father is Russian-Lithuanian heritage. My dad's side of the family, great-grandparents emigrated from Western Europe, and they had these incredible experiences. And I wish I had the opportunity to record more of that. And particularly with my grandparents, where I knew them, but I didn't have as much of that opportunity. And I'm doing that more now with my parents. And I've also gotten into Ancestry.com lately, and I'm doing a lot of that type of research too. But I'm thinking about how other people my age and my kids and other people's kids, we have opportunity now with the technology that we have to be able to record people's lives and document it in ways that we never could before. And I think that's a really important, not job, but an important thing that we can do to help preserve our heritage and kind of record our ancestors for posterity. And so part of the reason that I like doing these segments is I know that this is an opportunity to record these seniors. not just for the community, but for their families. Something to remember them by as time goes on. I think that's really important, and it's so anyway, that's kind of my personal reason behind this too, and it's, as we've been doing this show, it's made me think more and more about that, and so it's, to me, that's a really important aspect too.
Well, technology is rapidly changing. Russ has got his mobile studio. We won't go into all of the details about it right now, but suffice it to say that these little mobile devices come in really handy for a lot of things right now, and that's what we're basically recording with and doing the videos is these mobile phones, mobile devices. And so it's been rather interesting because he can pick up and move his studio within a few moments and readjust, and which is added to the flexibility about being able to do all this. So for those of you watching, I know technology can be difficult, but I think you're going to see more and more of these around with seniors carrying them and actually using them as time goes by. And we're going to try and talk more about that in future segments and see if we can help a little bit.
Yeah, we have a digital media company, Digital Media Northwest, and so we do a lot of video, and we have bigger, fancier cameras. But I really wanted to try and do this show in small format. Back when I was learning cameras 30 years ago, were like big things with backpacks and carrying a VHS recorder with you on a strap, and it is a whole. By small format now, I mean smartphones, so everything is very compact. But we have higher end equipment that we could use, but I really wanted to try and do this in this small format, using higher end smartphones with good cameras that can shoot good video, because it's so small and portable. Right now, like for example, with this segment, I've got 3 different cameras running. Usually I do one main camera and then carry another one around on a mobile gimbal to get different angles. But this allows us to be very portable, set up quickly, and it's also less intimidating. When you walk into a TV studio and you've got all these cameras and lights and things blaring at you, and people who aren't used to being on TV, it can be really intimidating, and it's kind of that deer in the headlights look when you put people in front of the camera, and I really wanted to try and avoid that, especially working with the senior population. And so I'm trying to make the technology as backseat as possible. We do use lights inside too, and those can be a little distracting, but even the microphones, we use these little portable microphone packs. This is what I'm wearing right now. Dave's got one too, with a little with a lav, and we're able to match all that up back in the studio. So that's why we're sitting next to an air conditioner outside here, and it keeps coming on, and Dave keeps looking at me, but you can hardly hear it, and that's because we're able to use these portable mic packs. So all of this technology is really portable, and incidentally, same type of technology that you can use for things like Zoom. And that is one of the things that we really wanted to try and portray to the senior community too, is that technology can be accessible, and hopefully not too intimidating. It's gotten a lot better over the last few years, and it's a great way to be able to keep in touch with friends and family, especially right now with the pandemic.
Yeah, I over the time I've been here as your executive director, I have always thought that we could do better in collaborating with other organizations, particularly nonprofits. I think there's a lot of mutual benefit to collaborating. It does take time. You have to reach out. Takes some effort. But I think it's worthwhile in that the seniors are involved in a lot of different activities, not just the Senior Activity Center, but a lot of other things in our community, the Humane Society, the museum, wellness place, and now I'm going to leave somebody out because I started listing names, but there's a lot of organizations, and some of which are struggling right now because of the pandemic. And so we've managed to figure out a way that we can make it through all this and reopen one day. And I think as you watch these videos, it's information that's useful to know what else is in our community resource-wise. We worked with aging and adult care here recently on one of the videos. So looking ahead, I think what you're going to find is very informative videos talking about resources in our community. And I think it's very, very important. And the other thing is we would love to do more on technology, as far as helping those out there that might have got an iPad for Christmas from the kids so that you can participate in Zoom calls or just Facebook or whatever it is, or watching our videos on your smart device. I think it's important. I know there's a lot of resistance to technology, and maybe we can help with that.
Yeah, that's a really important point too. Is we do want to have technology segments in the show. We also want to demonstrate seniors using technology, so expect to see some segments on that as well. One of the things that we'd like to do in season 2 is have more recurring segments. It's been one of the ideas that really has been there from the beginning, but because we've been limited to a half-hour show. A half-hour show is 24 minutes, and that really doesn't leave us a whole lot of time. Okay, and I'm going to put this in, and we might edit this out. If you're hearing this, then it didn't get edited out. We really want to make this a 1-hour show, and that's dependent on a number of different factors. But hopefully, we can expand Vibrant Living to an hour, which will give us more room to do some recurring segments. So, for example, we have it's Sandy Sanderson.
Yeah,
Sandy Sanderson, who we interviewed last episode, I believe she was on, and she wants to do ukulele lessons, and that fits really well into Vibrant Living. But we really need to do that as like a 5-minute segment per show. And do that as a recurring segment. We also have the travel program, and we just did I think it's on, I guess we'll find out when this is edited. I know I shot a segment with Dee and her trip to Scotland, and that's, but she's done a number of different trips, and we would like to feature a number of those trips as a recurring segment. And so there are a number of things that are going on at the Senior Center that we think would make good recurring segments. And so hopefully, as we're able to expand the show, we'll have more time to do that as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of you are sitting here in your homes wondering, well, come on, guys, when are we going to get this thing up and running again? That's what I really want to do. I want to go back and do the things I enjoyed doing when we were open last. And what I can tell you is that we are dealing with the population that is most vulnerable to this pandemic. And I think everybody at this point would agree with that. We've been very fortunate here with our thrift store employees and staff in general. We have come through this in really good shape so far. And of course, we still got a road ahead of us. We've just gotten the immunizations going here in our community in the last few weeks, and there's going to be more information. For me to say right now when we're going to be reopened, we will be able to reopen is really difficult for me. We are not going to be able to reopen on a limited basis for a lot of reasons. It's going to have to be either we're open or we're closed. The challenges in trying to open, say for instance, 25% capacity in any of our events is too much for us to manage. And I could go into a long list of reasons why. I think most of you know. And I think it's just because of the population that we serve primarily. So. So.
Yeah, I think to those of you that haven't been to the senior center before, the emphasis on the senior activity center is the activity part of the senior center. This is a social place. This is a social gathering place for seniors. This is a place that many seniors in the community look forward to coming to meet up with their friends. I mean, if you kind of picture what a boys club or girls club is, and that's what this is, but for seniors. And so that's the part that's, and I know it's really frustrating to Dave, and I'm sure a lot of the seniors who are used to coming here, is that this is one of the things that they look forward to as a social outlet, and a place where they can be around, where seniors can be around other seniors and share experiences and do things that normal people do when they congregate. But the very nature of that is what makes this environment so dangerous during the pandemic, because with the senior population being so much at risk from COVID, it's just not a safe place to be, and there's really no halfway way to deal with that. And so it's super frustrating to Dave, I know, because we talk about this all the time, but it needs to be what's safe for the seniors.
What's best for our seniors, and really, as an organization, we want to make sure that we don't put ourselves in some kind of jeopardy and have some issues spring up if we open too soon. I have to laugh when I think about last March 9th when I said, we're going to wait 2 weeks and see if we might be able to reopen again. And of course, I was way off the mark on that one. But we didn't know a whole lot. And we were one of the first organizations to close because of our concern for the seniors. And I have to say that we are probably going to be one of the last to reopen because of our doing the right thing for our seniors.
One last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of this show is how we're paying for it. Because this is a big undertaking that we've done, on the one hand, we really, both of us are really committed to doing this as a regular outlet for the senior center, especially now that we've started it and opened the can of worms. We want to keep fishing, At the same time, I have a business, and we're producing this show, and it does take man hours to do. We're trying to keep this as affordable as possible. One of the ways I do that is by doing a lot of the shooting and editing, shooting and camera work and audio and everything myself, so that I can keep the crew to a minimum, which also is less intimidating to the people on camera too. But it's part of the reason why we do it in that format is to keep the costs down. But one of my personal goals with this has been to make this show pay for itself. So that it isn't a burden to the senior center. I don't want this to be an expense. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is by bringing in sponsors. So as you watch these shows, you're seeing things like lower thirds coming across the screen and brought to you messages at the front of the show. We also have 1 minute kind of infomercials embedded within the show in different places. And those are all sponsors within the community that are helping to pay for the production of the show. We've had some really helpful sponsors to this point: Springwater Insurance, Aging and Adult Care, Health Alliance, Link Transit is on board with us now, so really a big shout out to these organizations for helping. If you are in an organization that can help, or know one that could, we are always looking for more sponsors, and we have different sponsorship packages available. I'm not going to turn this into a telethon, but that is how we're funding the show. So if If you are in an organization or know of one that, particularly ones that are targeting the senior population, doesn't have to be, but those are ideal. We would love to talk to you about being sponsors for our program.
Yeah, please call me or email me. I'd love to talk to you about sponsoring the programming. And I think you know who I am by now. Well, I want to thank once again Russ Alman for really making this happen mechanically, I call it, getting the job done. But he was also full of ideas and guidance and a lot of help. And so it wouldn't have happened if we couldn't form this partnership and getting this thing done. And I want to let everyone know out there that we love feedback. And so if you've got some feedback about what we're doing, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave me a voicemail, you can email me, you can put a post on Facebook. Just don't make it too derogatory. But anyway, we want your feedback on how we're doing. And I have got a lot of that already, but we can always use good, positive, or negative. If you've got some suggestions, we're wanting to hear from you. So thanks again, Russ, for all your help.
Yeah, and we actually do, every week we have a meeting and go over and ask for feedback and go over feedback and suggestions that we get from the community and put them on our production sheet. And we have a pretty sizable list of season 2 ideas that came directly from members of the community. So we really do want this to be a community show for the community television station, and that is one of our goals with this as well. So, Dave, I do want to thank you for really the privilege of letting me work on this project too, because it took us a while to kind of get our feet wet and then kind of work out the kinks, but this has been a really good experience for me too. I actually have a degree in communications and took video production classes back in college, back in the late 80s. But personally did not get a chance to do much TV production after that. I kind of went off into doing computer support for a long time and hadn't really had a chance to get back into video, and particularly TV program style video. And so this has been an opportunity to kind of get my feet wet again with that, but with much newer technology, which I think is fantastic. To be able to, with how much technology has progressed over the last couple of decades, to where you can hold a recording studio in the palm of your hand, quite literally, and shoot hours of video, and then go back and assemble it all on a computer so that it all makes sense. It's really pretty amazing stuff. So, but we want to thank you for tuning in. We wanted to make this kind of our wrap-up segment for the season, and we wanted to kind of look back on what we did this season and what we have planned for next season, and just kind of share that process with you, and also just get me out from behind the camera and get some fresh air and take my mask off and chat about things a bit. Both Dave and I want to thank you for tuning in for this first season, and we will see you again probably in about a month. I think we're planning on sometime late February is my guess for starting season 2.
Thanks again, Russ.
Okay, thank you.